Hello guys, welcome to the Train Parrot. As you can see, the performance of altcoins over the year is a mixed bag. We have a bunch of winners for 2025, including Sui, the XRPs, HBAR, Tron, and a few more. But then we have a huge group of losers with corrections and drawdowns that belong just to bear markets. And in the middle of a Bitcoin season, what we need to do, guys, is to assess if we are going to exit from the Bitcoin season with a decent rally. Altcoin season dreams or just delusional? I'm gonna break it down in this video looking at the USDT dominance again over the total 3 dominance, which is something that I started analyzing thanks to one of the members of my Patreon community. I'll give you an update on this potential re-entry into this pattern, which could be a signal extremely bullish. But of course, I'm gonna keep it real. We're gonna look at this from multiple angles. We're gonna chart others versus Bitcoin, the breakdown that we can see in there. And definitely, we're gonna make a stop in Bitcoin dominance, USDT dominance, and total 3. All the patterns that affect of altcoins and Bitcoin. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. Can we get 1,000 likes in this video? The only way we can get there is if you hit the like before you start watching the video. After that, you're just gonna love the content so much that you're gonna forget to like the video. Guys, if you wanna trade altcoins, consider opening an account on Bluffing. It just takes 2 minutes thanks to not requiring KYC. The link in the description allows you to get 10% cashback and keep those trading fees to a minimum. If you can do KYC and you wanna take advantage of my $500 position airdrop on Bybit, go and check that top link in the description and pick one of these coins in here and they're gonna give you $500 to trade for free. This has been, guys, a cycle extremely unfair with the altcoins. And we start the day with a cold shower already with OM doing a minus 90% overnight. This reminds me of Luna. And I think this sort of moves on altcoins are really scaring people away from the ecosystem of crypto. That's for sure. OM Mantra is one of the king's altcoins at the moment. And yeah, of course, we had a huge rally. So for the year, pretty much we are back to where we started. Beginning of the year, OM was trading at 0.6. It went to $8.4 and it retraced back more or less to the same price. That's why it's showing just 1% up. But it's not just things like this that is keeping the altcoin market suppressed and in absolute pain. Altcoins are perceived at the moment as a higher risk against Bitcoin. Bitcoin this cycle managed to get the approval from institutions. Economy has been really crap, and I'm not talking specifically where you live, but actually the whole macroeconomy is a disaster with inflation, meaning that people have less cash to trade. Retail, which is the king of all these altcoins, doesn't really have enough to put in altcoins, and by seeing that there is one rug pull after the other, everybody's waiting for that opportunity, and that constantly brings back the altcoin season index back into Bitcoin season, and we spend literally days in altcoin season this particular cycle. We're going to look into these charts and we're going to see what they're saying. And I'm looking for patterns that tell me if there's still a leg up for the altcoins to be had or if this is it for this cycle. Let me know in the comments before you see the charts. Which team are you from? Do you think that was it for the cycle, or there is still upside, new highs to be had, and that's the main reason you're still watching the video? This particular pattern came from this crazy formula that represents the USDT dominance over the total 3 dominance. You can copy the formula. The main reason we are using this, it was suggested by a member of my Patreon because total 3 doesn't offer a .d version showing the actual dominance of total 3. And here we are dividing both by using just the arithmetics on TradingView. And this is how it looks. The previous cycle was a falling wedge. All the bullish periods are the highs. The lows are the bullish periods. And the bear market is when you exit from the falling wedge. The bear market, it's confirmed on January 2022. We see some move back down in here. That tends to make people believe that we are coming back inside the falling wedge, but we didn't actually. We held the 983 And then we have a bear market that lasts all the way to around June 2023, putting still highs. So these levels that are very elevated in here means that the USDT dominance is winning in the arithmetics, right? So that means that everything is in cash. When we get a move down, that cash gets deployed into total 3. So a move down in this ratio represents a bullish phase of the market. And we have had one bullish phase, two bullish phases, and we are watching this video, and I'm making this video because I'm wondering if we could potentially, contrarian to what we had in 2022, which is a breakout. We kind of wanted to come back inside, back into bull market, but we couldn't. And in this area in here, we're seeing something different, which is we went 1 week outside, potentially confirming in a similar way that we are entering in a bear market as we did in here. But it's interesting to see the rejection and the comeback to retest at the moment, because that retest, if it breaks inside, we could get ourselves a third wave to the downside. This is USDT dominance coming down and potentially as well total 3 going up. That ratio going all down is bullish for you guys. It's money to be had in longs. Now, it's very time sensitive because over this weekend on Sunday, if we end up closing at a high, that was just a retest and further confirmation that we are entering a bear market from the point of view of the alts. That's what this specific chart is talking about. Let's move on to the next chart. This is going to be related to others. Others exclude the top 10 market cap altcoins. And I'm going to focus on this area in here and also this area in here. Those are the two past cycles. This one is in 2018. This one is way larger, which is in 2021. And we were expecting in 2021, at least I was, that somehow we were going to get really high in this projection for the next bull market with the altcoins. We were assuming not necessarily quantity of altcoins, but quality, that we were going to see some projects taking the lead and becoming mainstream, offering actual usability to people, changing their lives, therefore growing into the very high levels of 800 billion in market cap of others. But there you go, this cycle, we are at the same highs as 2021. That's the best we did so far. So the question, again, same question as I did in the previous chart. What are the signs in this chart that we can rescue to say we could have a breakout to the upside? And there are a few things that I am seeing in the chart that are different. Of course, I'm going to start with the things that are spooky, the things that are scary, just like I did in this chart explaining the confirmation of the breakout into bear market. In this chart, there is a particular element that is very scary, and I have to say it is this one in here. We have two highs, two peaks in 2018. The first one in January 2018, and then another peak in April that is already in the bear market. But looking at it from the distance, you can see that there are those two peaks. Then there are two peaks in this area in here. Those two peaks are in a reverse order. The second one is the highest one. And on this cycle, we got two peaks as well. So you could say, let's not talk anymore. We got two peaks. That's it. Now this is going to just drain into an ugly bear market. But let's stop just for a minute, not to necessarily conclude any forecast, but let's observe the detail, because it's in the detail where we could see a lot more information. On the second peak in here, I couldn't really form a falling wedge. In this cycle, both peaks have a falling wedge. And the second one, particularly this week, is breaking out. So another reason to keep an eye. What's going on, guys? Falling wedge, breakout. Can it fail? Absolutely. We can take the lows and enter a bear market. But a breakout from a falling wedge is a bullish breakout, and it's worth looking at it. Even if it just gets us in here into 300, that's a 50% market cap increase. We should take advantage of that, even if it's just a dead cat bounce and it doesn't manage to take the highs of March 2024. Fair enough. Still a rally. And the RSI is confirming the breakout. There was a painful 2-week drag into the retest, but now it's pointing up. I also want to see this chart on the monthly. and we go back to the scary part, which is the bearish divergence on the monthly happening on January 2018. That same pattern happens in November in 2019, and that same pattern happens in November 2024, way earlier. Notice that this November 2021 and January 18 are already in the topping year or post-topping year. We are getting it in November 2024, which is before the topping year. And once again, that is kind of the card that we have left at the moment. In terms of similarity, we could even say that we have the diminishing momentum in the RSI, and that explains why we couldn't go beyond this point. But actually, it's not that diminishing. We could put a horizontal line and we can see that in 2 cycles in a row, eventually the RSI reached 96. This cycle we've been to 72. To me, this is the card that we have left. The non-euphoria in the altcoin market is something that is really weird to exit a cycle with really no performance. 70 is just tasting the flavor of a bull market. Definitely is not euphoria. I guess the largest hopium that I could do in this video is to say, what if we still went to that level that we have gone every single cycle where we had altcoins others, so more than 10 top market cap? Well, let's bring in the reverse RSI. Let's put 96. And at the moment, that is absolutely impossible. To get us into an RSI 96 from being in an RSI 48, which is doubling the RSI value, that brings others into $6 trillion. So I think this cycle is absolutely impossible that we get to that level of RSI. That doesn't mean that we cannot put a high still. That will break this pattern, which hasn't been broken, is low likely, but what if we get to 72, which is the current high? Well, that gets us into a more realistic 621 billion. It's crazy how the RSI moving from 48 to 72 gets you into 600 billion. But if you go into 96 from these lows that kind of belong to the bear market of 2019, requires momentum enough to push you into 6 trillion market cap others. Crazy. Others versus Bitcoin doesn't look that promising. Remember that on the weekly, others is showing a breakout in here, right? Not with a bullish divergence, but with a test of the breakout. Now we need to start putting highs and all the usuals. But if we look at others versus Bitcoin, it's just a continue bleeding. It's been 5 weeks with lower lows in here. So this is not just Ethereum that is doing that, but actually all the alts from 1st of December are just putting lower lows on the weekly. And that on the RSI is resulting on losing the support of 39. When we put the first low in here in August 2019, after that we put a higher low in December 2020, and that led into the rally to the top of the range. Whereas in here, the lows, the 2 lows that we had at 39 were broken now. So that breaks a pattern that indicates that as we approach the topping year, RSIs are meant to put higher lows and not lower lows. That is something that is spooky, fully honest, sure. But what if our last card is to go to the bottom in here based on this trend line? And you probably, if you watch my videos, most of them, you're probably laughing because we were talking about this orange as the last line of support. And now our last line of support is a descending white line. And then what if we put the double bottom in here and we break out from here into the top of the range? And why am I looking for that? Because literally, this is the magnitude of the first cycle in 2018. This is the magnitude of the second one. The expected magnitude using just linear interpolation, just a projection, is to get somewhere in here at 65. So instead of 76, instead of 89, 60s. Guys, we barely made it to 50 just here. That is extremely crappy performance. It's like if you finish the first cycle here or the second cycle around this area and you never had any rally. And that's why I insist with where, in what shape is going to be that breakout. Even if we don't get to the top, what if we do something like this and then we end, or slightly higher, like around here and then end? Well, just give me that, give me something. And the feeling is that there hasn't been anything yet. Only drawdown. Drawdowns of the previous cycle, 2020, we have 0 to 5% at 61% drawdowns. Sorry, the other way around. We have 61% of the time with very small drawdowns. This cycle, half of the time, we are getting those drawdowns. Drawdowns are way larger this cycle. And this is going to shock you. The past cycle drawdowns on altcoins reach a maximum of 40 to 45%, affecting others. 2.9% of the time we did that. And this is really going to disappoint you, because not only we go beyond 45% in the drawdowns, we have the 40, 45, 45 to 50, 50 to 55, and 55 to 60. And the last one, which is already into 60, we have spent 3.5% of the time, which is more time than we spend in the largest drawdown of 40 to 45. This goes in the opposite direction of the volatility on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is diminishing the volatility, still hasn't had all the volatility that's expected to have in this cycle. In that sense, is underperforming in volatility, particularly to the upside, but alts are increasing in volatility this cycle. All right, let's go into Bitcoin dominance before this becomes an encyclopedia of video. And dominance is challenging the previous high of 64.26. Now, past week we got into 64, so it's a lower high. Thanks to that, I'm looking for a bearish divergence, but relative to this high, we don't have a bearish divergence. We have something different. We are getting, though, very close to 73 target, which is the target I call when I say if we re-enter the ascending wedge, which is bearish. If Bitcoin dominance managed to do that, the highest it should get is into 73. 73 is at a Bitcoin dominance of 65.5. I think we are in the process of topping on the Bitcoin dominance, but that's probably not news to you. We've been pretty much all this range looking for a top. That's what you do when you are inside a falling wedge. And now we are breaking out from the upside of the falling wedge, which is a bearish pattern, and we are breaking bullish. On the USDT dominance, we got a pattern that I'm currently liking, which is after this area in here where we are inside this box that resembles the best altcoin season that we have in 2021, which is after a move down of the USDT dominance. Then we have a breakout to the upside. That was the crash in the middle of 2021. So I copy all these candles in here and I'm following closely the fractal, and you can see that we're getting very close to a peak in this area, and hopefully we get a breakdown back below the support. That could bring a decent move of altcoins to the upside. I'll keep you informed on how we do that, because also the RSI is calling for a breakdown. It's calling really for a move of this channel in this direction. We'll see. You can see it already appears 65 of the percentile. So I'm moving to the median of 48, and then further downside should be expected somewhere in the middle of the year. The channel at the moment, we are in April, but the breakdown could be in May, then June, July, and maybe by September we are done with the channel down. I'm thinking very optimistically, to be fully honest. Total 3 is in a bull flag and is below the final support. Bitcoin already broke that, by the way, and at the moment we are approaching that resistance is at 49. If we can get beyond the 49, we could see a breakout of the bull flag to the upside. We can also see that the momentum has broken out in here. Unfortunately, we have this hair in the soup, which is 49 as a resistance. Let's plot it in the chart. We need to go beyond 803 billion in market cap of total 3 to have a good chance of breaking out from 849 billion, which is the top of the bull flag at the moment. It's kind of a parallel channel. Let's extend this to the actual bottom. That is how it looks. Guys, if you want to have access to my charts, to all the lines that I draw, including the indicators and everything, straight into a Telegram client, which means that you can be on the go with your phone and request any of my charts anytime, 24/7, all year long. I currently have a sale on my Patreon. I recommend that you join my Telegram. That's where you're gonna find the actual code to get 50% discount that ends on the 15th of April. So you have to be quick. This is how it looks, the Telegram bot. You can request any chart on Bitcoin, altcoins, and general markets. And notice that they include every single drawing that I'm doing, all the arrows and signals. You join a private Telegram group with other people with access to the charts, and you can also interact with the bot privately if you prefer to do so. Thanks so much for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.